Alright, so the gist of this is that it's the 27th, which means we have to do something special, so I'm going to read the intro chapter of the book I'm currently working on. Some of the names in here might change. I might go back and redraft something, but yeah, so we're going to have some fun, and we're just going to do that, and then that'll be the end of it, so here we go. Okay, great. The daring expedition of a young man with nothing to lose, the pride of a princess, the cunning of a crochet instructor, and a vile demon from lands unknown. These four would change the history of the world forever in their endless struggle for peace and understanding. But it all starts with the choice of three creatures. One of lush forests, one of the indomitable volcanoes, or one of the deepest oceans. Wait, that's not right. Ethan Coolest popped an eye open as his alarm rang. Reaching over to smash it into bits, the young adult let out an annoyed yawn. "How the heck?" he huffed, trying to remember his dream. It escaped him easily. Dang it. He had been there, halfway to his computer. Dream log still sitting on his screen from last night. However, the machine didn't come out of hibernation fast enough for him to do anything useful about it. Furthermore, the usual chime of his mother batted away at his ear. "Ethan," she peacefully rang from outside his room. "Are you up?" He grumbled under his breath. "Yeah." Time for university. Sure, the embarrassment of having to be woken up by his mother at the age of 18 stung, but he rolled with it. It was a backup for his alarm, at least. Also, the fact that nobody else knew about it helped. Kind of, not really. Friday, Ethan sighed, thinking about his schedule. Within minutes, he had hiked out his front door and shut himself inside the sauna of his car. The sun had coated it in the embrace of an Arizona picnic and dashed it with the delicate and searing touch of a Florida anything. The traffic was on par with its usual antics. Someone blew through the light in the only intersection separating life and sense from the ridiculous, inconsistent boundaries of death. Trucks took their time turning off the right lane, leaving inches from Ethan's car fusing blue with white. Somebody honked him when a light had been green for less than needed for celebrities to divorce. It was the best of times, Ethan murmured, passing by his favorite pizza place. Once it was out of sight, he went on. It was the worst of times. Putting about as much effort into parking as a high school jock puts under sciences, Ethan rolled to a halt in the Yermonda University parking garage and abandoned his vehicle. The long, arduous trek down some hallways and gaggles of people left him with wandering eyes each time someone he didn't recognize even thought of looking at him. But at last, he muttered to himself, putting sights on the dyed blue hair of a walking world of madness. Salvation. He made a jump for the spiky hair, touching the top of it and making its owner flinch. "What the devil?" yelled Patrick Alexander Ivan. He grumbled as he saw the menace. "You planning on taking refuge in there or something?" Ethan grinned, throwing up a peace sign before the Brit could retaliate. "But it's a world of mystery, Pi." He spread his arms. "Who knows what mystical wonders of mysticism, Pi corrected. Mysticism could be awaiting everybody in the depths of your latest masterpiece." Pi put a hand to his chest. "My latest masterpiece, I'll have you know, Herr Ethan, shan't be a mere act of expression." He swept out his phone from his pocket, double-checking anything that Ethan had not permanently messed with. "Instead, it will resonate with the very souls of those who peer upon it. A true renaissance of thought, combined with the fury of opinion." Ethan slouched into the nearby lounge chair. "It's just some crappy painting, isn't it?" Pi joined him, his words sinking to a hush. "It's a crappy painting. Uh-huh. Ah!" Pi's head sank into his hands. "Been up all night on the blasted thing, and it still looks total crap. Professor Lehman has such faith in me, and I don't know if I can actually create something to the vision that she has for me. She keeps telling me she knows I'll get every little detail right, but whenever I focus on that, it makes me go mad." Shaking his head, Ethan insisted, "You're being too hard on yourself. It's impossible to get every little detail right for everything. Anyone who expects that is just being too harsh on you, or not being real with themselves." He tapped the table as he spoke. "If you focus on too many little details, you miss the big picture, right?" A nod. "Well, if you focus on the big picture, you miss out on the details. Basically, everyone wants you to do everything, but you have to fight yourself going back and forth with trying to figure out which thing was more important, right? Your vision or the critique's vision?" His voice progressively quickened. "And when you try to think too hard about all the important stuff, You lose sight of the small things that make it neat, and if you focus on those things instead, it's not neat enough. Because everyone says you tried too hard, and everyone thinks you screwed it up, and then you doubt yourself because it was just spiraling out of control, so you come up with new ideas, and new ideas, and new ideas, but none of them just seem to stick into the spirals out of control. A million words a second there, Ethan! Pye's head spun from the lecture. Flint's sake, let it out, why don't you? Anyway, point is, you should just make something you like. Don't worry about what other people think, or you end up with this crap. Pye followed Ethan's pointer finger to a poster on the wall, cringing at the sight of the book it advertised. Point taken. He lifted an eyebrow. It's as broad as it is long. Impossible to decide between two options because they appear equal. Pye lifted his own pointer finger. A fine summary of the situation, I'd say. What if there are three at once? Pye blinked. That doesn't make any damn sense, Ethan! Oh! Language. That doesn't make any bloody sense, Ethan! Wait, we can't swear now. Oh, bollocks to this. I'm getting some tea. The irony set sail for Madagascar. What does you being British have to do with anything? The artist twirled his head about. What? I didn't even... You brought it up! No, I didn't. Yes, you... The Brit twitched and lunged for Ethan's neck, but cut himself off. Yes, anyway. I see you're as perky as ever. Not even sarcastically. Ethan's shoulders slumped. Driving 60 minutes for a 50-minute class isn't exactly the pinnacle of fun. You know, it's not the pinnacle of fun. A pickle? Pye froze. What not the pinnacle of fun is? The stink face evolved into a stink eyebrow. What were you on about again? Ethan nearly collided with his forehead, his tone seeking to cut through the waves of a tsunami. You're out of control, John! I'm not... I'm just bored. Ethan leaned back again. Anyway, got any plans for the weekend? I was thinking of going to Petey's Pizza or something. Haven't been there in ages, and I really want a pizza. Before Pye could answer, Ethan leaned closer. Really want a pizza? Pye slowly backed away. Right, pizza. The sweat pouring down his cheeks, he scrambled for the next idea. Oh, why don't you ask out Elena, girl? Make it a date. Time stopped. Elena. Pye's smug smirk slithered to the surface. Oh, got your attention now, have I? He cupped his hands together. Well, Ethan, dare I say I think I found your weakness. Oh, the rampant love fluttering between your heart and hers, just waiting to erupt into a collection of roses and flowers. He ignored Ethan's ramblings and protests, even after other students turned to see what all the commotion was. And you can show her the shrine of your passion, the lovely poem you wrote for her and have yet the chance to let her lay eyes upon. That's not a thing. Wasn't a thing, it was a thing. His face transforming beat red, Ethan garbled out, Don't you have some class to get to or something? He looked at the clock. It's almost 11 anyway, so I have to get going. Yes, change the subject. More than content with his victory, Pye stood and bellowed to the heavens while placing his hands on his hips. But on this day, Ethan Coolis, it is Pye who have achieved triumph. Did you just... Is that a pun? The artist sank back to his chair. I'm not a proud man sometimes, Ethan. He sighed loudly. Not a proud man. The two sat in silence as everyone else shuffled away from them. After a good half-minute, Pye asked, So, lunch then? Sure, it'll make this trip worth it at least. He snatched up his backpack. See you after class. Indeed. Ethan scurried away before the two could make another scene for the university paper and swung up some stairs to the top floor of the Coyote complex. Admiring, and forced to smell the stench of, the newly painted white walls, Ethan made his way to the classroom in the opposite end of the building, coming to a U-shaped room of packed sardines who were mostly eager to learn. At the very least, the conversation seemed to actually be about astronomy today. And the most stereotypical television college professor to ever step foot on the planet walked into the room. Right down to the worn suit, the scruffy beard, the glasses, and the squinted eyes of unconcern, Professor Rengdorf clasped his hands over the speaking podium at the front of the room and addressed everyone. Remember, the monotone and dry tone of the professor forced out, that your second exam is next Wednesday. You'll be allowed a calculator, but no notes or books. Another voice peeked over Ethan's shoulder. That means you actually have to study, it snickered. Turning, Ethan saw the long blonde hair of Blake Bright seeping away from him. Oh, come on, Ethan mumbled. That wouldn't even work. We have about the same grades and have had the same grades since high school. Blake tilted his glasses, leering back at a mouthly whelp. I'm merely making an observation that you're clearly too dense to see. A snarky grin. Perhaps if you were as bright as myself, you would know a proper retort to put me in my place. Alas, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. Ethan's brows glowered. Now, go ahead. Enlighten me this revelation, O god of the bright dynasty. His cheeks puffing out, Blake murmured, You've got a lot of nerve sometime, Coolus. I suggest you watch who you mouth off to. The wrong person might just be around the corner looking to put some taste back into it. Rolling his eyes and swinging his sights forward, Ethan countered, This isn't high school, Blake. Nobody cares about your crap anymore. Well, then I'll suppose we'll see if Elena cares. The Elena card again, making Ethan's skin crawl. The actual... He started to himself. Is this a public broadcast or something? How the heck do you know her? Because I'm somebody. He brushed off the brown-haired male with a scoff. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some notes to take. I suggest you do the same. Before Ethan could retort, the professor started his lecture. Grumbling, Ethan held his eyes across the U-shaped room and planted them on the brunette, who bobbed her head from side to side with each stroke of her eyes along the book she read. The sun peering through the curtains behind her bounced perfectly off her slight tan. Before he knew it, Ethan had been staring long enough at her for her to sense it and leave her book. Despite this, though, she still gave him her usual beam and wave. He delivered back before darting his eyes back to his notebook and copying down whatever Rengdorf had on the board. The 80 minutes flew by faster than a jet, and Ethan came out of it with 4 more pages of notes, making 2 pages of useful material. After slipping away from more of Blake's potential jeering, Ethan strutted through the hallways with a kick in his step. Petey's Pizza called to him from afar, and his taste buds and wallet answered. After a short drive, Ethan met up with Pi and they took a table. My, said Pi as Ethan rambled about Rengdorf's class. Sounds mostly like you've been doing chemistry. Pretty much, sighed Ethan. Maybe it has to do with the introduction or something? But it's been like 7 weeks. And it just seems like things I learned in Chem 115. He leered out the window. Although Rengdorf loves talking about his observatory a lot. Should just take us if he's going to keep going on about it. One cannot fathom the true passion of a man's soul, Ethan. Did you get that one from another one of your Renaissance sites or something? Pi shut off his phone and threw it down to the booth's cushion and cupped his hands. Why, Ethan, it's like you don't even trust me. Squinted brows and eyes alike sent fury across the table. The dark cloud dissipated, though, as Elena Bell made her grand entrance. Flanked by her usual gaggle of gals, the girl gracefully glided along the gray ground. Gah! Ethan trailed off, his mind venturing to a faraway land where no one could find him. Pi rampantly snapping his fingers in front of Ethan's face did no good. Oi! Oi! After a while, the Brit shrugged it off and snatched a piece of Ethan's pepperoni. Stepping by the table, Elena murmured, Is he okay? The Englishman waved an arm. When Herr Ethan's face is as blazing as the sun, he'll fall back to the planet and be right with you. He then glimpsed at Ethan again, the young adult's slouching stance almost reaching the floor. Could almost be ready, actually. Finally, Ethan snapped out of it long enough to recognize the beautiful brunette beckoning to him. Elena, he squeaked out. How are you? She smiled anyway. Fine. Hey, I was just wondering if you were going to the September festival tonight. Popping out of the sun, he sat up again. I didn't really have a reason to go. I mean, it didn't seem too bad, just nothing to do. Oh. She slapped down one of the school flyers for it anyway. Well, if you find your way there, I think there'll be some cool stuff. There's a little mini Dokailo evolution tournament going on and everything, and we need at least 8 people to participate. Her beam widened far enough to fit the door frame. You should totally join in! Ethan leered at the flyer. Dokailo evolution, a card game? But I haven't. Seriously, think about it. We'd love to have more join us. With that, she sauntered away, gentle as a breeze, and heading to the next table with more flyers. Pi also gaped upon the flyer. Card tournament, eh? He hummed. Could be. Ethan shook Pi's arms. Dokailo evolution, tell me about this game. Wincing and shoving back Ethan, Pi murmured, Honestly, does your brain have to go to mush every time you see that gal? I'm sure she'll be willing to teach you the basics before we play. Don't worry about that. Girl has a heart of gold and the patience of a teacher. Suddenly, Ethan broke into hysterics and backed off. Then a calm tone took over. Nah, I'm just screwing around with you. But seriously, we should totally do it. Might be a chance for me to talk to her and not, like, you know, freak out. Freak out, Ethan sighed. Hey, I'm not that bad. You're about half a second away from having a nosebleed, mate, the likes of which even Niagara Falls couldn't hope to contain. So? Ethan tapped his fingers together. Look, point is, we're going to that thing now. I gotta get out of the house anyway and start saying hi to some people. His head dipped onto the table. I'm not much better from my high school self anyway, at least when it comes to meeting new people. Oi, she was the one who came up to you today! Pi raised his thumb to his friend. At least you know she doesn't think negatively of you if she was willing to invite you so casually like that. Just chill and go with the flow, man. You might be right. Ethan sat up. Right. A little chat, some card games, and fun. What more would you need? A brain! Shut up. That night, Ethan found himself standing outside Yurmanda University again. Except this time, seas of young adults spread like wildfire through the campus grounds with drinks and food. General chaos took over the parking lot, and toilet paper with glitter made for additional decorations on some of the trees. Ethan carefully waded through the masses to look for the tent he had seen on the flyer. Sure enough, the big and blue tent with picnic tables set inside of it sat near the center of the walkway, amidst some tall trees and a cobblestone path. Ethan took a deep breath as he saw Pi go in nonchalantly, and joined him. At least he tried to join Pi. Unfortunately, the familiar stench of Blake Bright's voice filled the air with a poison that could kill in a millisecond. You? Blake gasped. And just who invited you to this place? Before Ethan could answer, Pi popped out of the tent to confirm, Elena herself, actually. And dare I say, it seems as though this will be the perfect opportunity for you to put those words to good use. What? Blake snarled at Pi like a coyote. And who are you to speak for Elena? Why'd she invite someone like him, anyway? Well, Herr Blake, perhaps you can ask her when she gets here. Huh? Ethan hummed. Elena's not here yet? Blake twisted his lips as he answered, Not yet, anyway, but even if she was, I assume she was just being formal anyway. Being formal? This time a lopsided grin popped onto Blake's mug. Just inviting whoever was in close proximity, obviously. Glanced at Pi. Wouldn't surprise me if she wanted to invite your artsy friend here, but just decided to be polite since you were close by. That's what happened, am I wrong? He kept his eyes locked on Pi. However, the artist gave a shrug as he said, Or perhaps nobody has any ulterior motives except you, Blake. Ulterior? The blonde male scoffed under his breath. I'm surprised someone like you would use such an unfounded assumption, Pi. Maybe I was wrong about you after all. Wrong about what? Anyway, why don't you just run along and find someone else to play with, Ethan? Blake waved him off like a fly. We have actual business to contend to tonight, and I doubt Elena would want such a wonderful evening ruined by the presence of, well... Ethan lifted a brow. Well? He asked. Adieu, Ethan. Remember to study for astronomy. With that, Blake retreated into the tent and shut the curtain. Holding convex brows, Pi uttered, Just as pleasant as always, I see. He turned to Ethan. And you're to deal with this for 4 years? 7, Ethan muttered with a cringe. Middle school, too. Cool. Ethan then turned away, hands on his hips as he pondered aloud. Well, think anything else is worth checking out this festival thing? Wait, what? Pi glanced between his friend and the tent. Don't tell me you're actually going to listen to him. Just get on in there and have some fun with the rest of us, Ethan. Meh. Ethan slumped over. I mean, it's not like Elena's ever talked to me much before, right? She's talked to you, though. What's your point, then? Ethan tapped his cheek. I mean, he could be right about the whole politeness thing. Oh, don't give me that! He leaned closer, putting on a wicked beam that would force a champion frowner out of retirement. I think someone's just getting cold feet because they don't want to be called out by Blake tonight, He paused to let it sink in. "Mayhaps, if Blake were to poke fun at your swooning over Elena, the pressure would be too much to handle? Just a searing pile of smoke ready to burst at the seams. A conglomerate of emotion fluttering one after the other, spilling into an ocean of passion." "You know, you're not helping." A tad too much, eh?" Pi swerved away from him. With a groan, Ethan pocketed his hands and wandered from the tent. "You guys should play. I don't know the rules anyway, remember?" A reluctant sigh. "Besides, with Blake giving me crap all over the place, I probably couldn't focus on learning the rules anyway." "Oh, don't give me that. Even in your catatonic, Elena's the greatest thing ever, nothing else exists state, the game is quite simple to learn. You'd be a pro in no time flat." But Ethan kept walking. "Look, it's fine. Maybe I'll run into her before she gets to the tent and I can just say hi there or something." He waved to the Brit. "Let me know how it goes, all right?" As Ethan trotted away, Pi held his lips to a pucker. "Ethan, I swear..." After roaming the campus and festival grounds for a good half hour, Ethan brought himself to accept that he'd missed the lovely brunette. At least for tonight, entertainment would have to come in the form of his mind and anything he could piece together from passing the other attractions. The basic carnivalesque games drove him away, though, and the blatant underage drinking outside the dorms left him gagging. He opted to return to the parking garage, his hands fiddling about with his keys. "Could just go," he pondered to himself, but the other half of his mind tried convincing him otherwise. Come on, just go back to the tent and say you were late. Pi won't care. You can watch the game, maybe learn it for the next time." The first half took him further away, though. But there's no excuse for being late. And if Pi already said something about it, you'll just look like an idiot anyway. The mental struggle went on for a good 2 minutes, all the while Ethan holding his keys to the driver's seat of his car. At last, though, the more hesitant half won, and he unlocked the door with a sigh of disappointment. "Just stupid," he grumbled to himself. Before entering his car, a shout echoed throughout the parking garage. Cold enough to induce fear, but mysterious enough to draw attention. Ethan stood for several silent seconds, hunting for the source of the voice. Then he noticed the absence of the festivities below. Rather, they had gone entirely silent. Darting his eyes around the garage and walking to the ledge, Ethan leaned over. The party raged on, though, and directly outside the garage at that, yet nobody seemed responsive to the loud wail. Somehow, nobody made a peep. Was that part of the party? Ethan wondered. But what? He waited for more, but heard nothing. Although he found the temptation to leave, his self-frustration boiled over. And for reasons he could not explain, this had his attention. He locked the car again and skipped through the garage. The sound came from the floor above him. He made his way to the stairs, jogging up and veering around the corner. From here he could make out 2 series of footsteps, one louder than the other. He followed the echoes, stopping momentarily when he heard a thud against glass. "Crap!" he gasped to himself. "Is there a fight?" His instincts kicking to high gear, he pursued the sound and popped around the next corner. A stain of red oozed to the side of an otherwise lime sports car. A stain of red oozed. I guess that's fine. The side of an otherwise lime sports car, leading to the frizzled head of hair slumped on its side. The left arm twitched and the leg stamped the pavement repeatedly, all as a figure in black and gray freely scouted the pockets. "What the?" Ethan wheezed. He held out his pointer finger, his voice resonating throughout the garage in a desperate attempt to get someone outside to hear. "Hey!" The one word ricocheted off the concrete like rubber, passing the ears of the man in the cliché cloak at least 4 times. He, however, resumed his pickpocketing until he stumbled upon the fallen individual's wallet and removed a keycard from it. With a snarl, the croaky-voiced cloak turned to Ethan. "Gifts from the heavens come in many forms," he bluntly said. "Does it matter the method of obtaining what is yours?" "Yours?" Ethan repeated. "What's going on here, anyway?" He glimpsed upon the wound again. "Stay right there and don't move!" The cloak turned to his victim. "Teller was a hard find, but even a cat who scurries through the night cannot guarantee salvation in an alley." "Teller?" The cloak's concealed sneer grew as he brought out a thin piece of paper. "What a disappointment. I was told there'd be more." He tossed the object onto the fallen man. "A calling card for the next time." Both Ethan and the cloak twitched as Once the card hit the body, the downed person began to squirm. The two remained silent as he shifted in his own pool of red, finally gathering enough strength to drag one hand along the ground and push. Then the next had him up to all fours. After several seconds of his body fighting him, the man made it to both knees. The heavy breathing slowed, and he rested against the stained card door to which he'd been unceremoniously introduced. "Well," the croaking cloak muttered, "I'm impressed." He averted his attention and grunted, seeing Ethan speeding at him like a dart. Although Ethan swung the first punch, the cloak easily dodged and swerved to the side. Ethan made another attempt, but the assailant made it to the next car with a single bound. Ethan had the ground near the fallen man now, holding out his arms as a makeshift shield. "Stay back," Ethan warned, noticing the security camera on the far side of the garage. Might as well just let the cops deal with this later. Once he saw the cloak had not moved yet, he yelled this time, "Just get out of here!" The cloak was more than happy to oblige. However, the bleeding man gave him reason to halt. "You're missing one," he uttered. The cloak growled, "What?" With that, the bleeding man rustled through his collar, bringing out the lanyard he had stashed inside. On it, a second key card matching the thieves dangled. Squinting his fierce red eyes from behind the hood, the cloak hissed at Ethan, "Bring it to me." "What?" Ethan let out. He saw the bleeding man's taunting wave, the keycard ingrained in his memory. "Dude, what are you doing?" But the downed individual continued, "Come on, Dimitri. You're not really gonna risk losing one of them, are ya?" As though he hadn't just sustained a permanent blow to his brain, he then slid to his feet and kept waving the card from side to side. "There's no way your boss will let you get away with being so clumsy." "You!" The cloaked Dimitri started before breaking into a fit of laughter. "You're really this suicidal, aren't you?" He cracked his knuckles. "Now this is the teller I expected." Reaching into his cloak, he dug out his right arm. A black, skin-tight glove rode all the way beyond his bicep, markings etched inside a series of boxes. Teller, still fighting with his injury, came to grips with the situation as his balance literally fell away from him. But he still had enough for a small chuckle and to roll up his sleeve. A similar glove went up his arm, but he took it off and threw it at Ethan. "Hey, you," he whispered. Still trying to process what was even happening, Ethan said on instinct, "Me?" "I need you to get that key card back for me." And that is the end of Chapter 1 of whatever the flid this is that I'm doing. So, yeah, there you go, everybody. There's some bonus material for you on the 27th. And it's some drugs. There you go. There you go. Yep. That's it. The reading is over. Now we can all continue to listen to rap music. And yep, that'll be it.